video for confidence intervals for a mean difference. By the end of this video, you should be able to analyze the distribution of a difference in a paired data set using graphs and summary statistics, and construct and interpret a confidence interval for a mean difference. Alright, so we're on the scenario, does memory training help? I collected data from the class, having them use two different strategies for memorizing different sets of words. And this was the data we came up with, so go ahead and pause the video and write this data down. Alright, now that you had the numbers written down, here's a dot plot of the mean differences. So you're going to want to copy this dot plot down. Pause the video and come back when you're done. Alright, so let's talk about what we're looking at here. What we're really looking at is there are two different strategies. Looking at a list of numbers and just reading them over and over and over, or a list of words and reading them over and over and over for 3 minutes. And at the end of that 3 minutes, you will write down as many as you can remember off the top of your head and see how many. And the other method was using a different set of words, make them into some sort of story and see how many you can remember after 3 minutes. So strategy 1 is just reading them over and over and over. Strategy 2 was the story strategy, and so the difference, we did the story strategy minus just the reading strategy. Okay, so that's what our graph is representing. So knowing that, if they're right here, this represents no difference. They got the same both times. If they were on this side, if you got a negative number, that means that strategy A was better for them. Okay. If they subtracted and they got a positive number like this side, well, that means strategy B was better because it was a bigger number minus a smaller number. So by the looks of it, it looks like a whole lot more people did better with strategy B than they did with strategy A. So we had a mean, if you put all of these numbers in and do one variable statistics, we had a mean of 2.07 and a standard deviation of 2.51. Now, this is different than the difference in means. What we did previously was we added up all strategy 1s and found a mean, and then added up all the strategy 2s and found that mean, and then subtracted. This one, each individual person is doing the subtraction, and we're adding up all of the differences and finding the mean. Okay, so this is a mean difference, not a difference in means. And so what this really is paired data. And there's a couple ways you can pair data. We did it before, where we talked about matched pairs, where you get two very similar people and put one in one group and one in the other group. Or you can have this paired data where the person acts as their own control. So we had a randomization of which strategy was used first. Some people used strategy 1 first, and some people used strategy 2 first, and that was randomly assigned. Okay, so looking at this information, we can see that 20 out of the 27 did better with strategy B. Remembered more words. Using strategy B. Okay, so we're kind of interpreting our mean here. So on average, students remembered 2.07 words more using strategy B. Okay, So our mean there is 2.07 and the mean is an average. So on average, students remember 2.07 words more using strategy B over strategy A, or strategy 1 versus strategy 2. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this information and we're going to construct a 95% confidence interval with it. So go ahead and flip this paper over. So we're going to construct a 95% confidence interval for the true mean difference in words remembered by students using story rather than rereading. So whenever they say something like that, that's how you want to define your parameter. So we're talking about means here, but we're not talking about mu1 minus mu2. Remember, we're only talking about the means, the difference of those. So we call this mu difference. Okay? And then you just want to use these words, true mean difference in words remembered by students using story rather than rereading. So I think you should be able to do the entire question completely on your own. That's where you should be right now. The only thing I want to show you was that mu diff you're going to define, and your statistic will be X bar diff. The rest you should know, and if you don't, then you know what you got to pay attention to for the test. So pause the video, try it all out, come back when you're done and we'll go over it. All right, let's see how you did. So I didn't finish writing this out. You would want to keep using all the words from up here. Mu diff, true mean difference. I'm going to make sure you got that word in there. Words remembered using story rather than rereading. Our statistic was at 2.07 and we're having a 95% confidence level. So this was one sample of 27 people. So it's a one sample T interval for mu diff. Random, we gave a random order of treatments. Okay, some people used one strategy first and some used the other. So this is an experiment. And when you're doing an experiment with a random assignment, you don't need your 10%. And then for our normal, we do not have a big enough sample size. We don't know if the population is normal. So you have to go based on the graph. And so here I said the dot plot on the front. I didn't redraw it. I said it's there. Shows no strong skew or outliers. There could possibly be some outliers, but they happen both high and low, so they kind of canceled each other out and it looks nice and symmetrical. Okay, so our general formula is you're taking the point estimate plus or minus your margin of error. To get your point estimate, that is your mean difference, plus or minus, and we have to use a t-star because we're getting our standard deviation from a sample. And so t-star, standard deviation divided by the square root of the sample size. And so here was the confidence interval that I got. So what this means is we are 95% confidence the interval from 1.08 to 3.07 words captures the true mean difference in words remembered using story over rereading. Okay, so hopefully we're doing pretty good with that. Now, our last question is, do we have convincing evidence there are more words remembered using story instead of rereading? Remember, we did story minus rereading, and we do have some good evidence. All the plausible values are positive, meaning the number of words remembered were greater for story, because when we subtracted, we got a bigger number. Bigger number minus smaller number is going to be a positive. Okay, so hopefully you were real close on that. If you missed something, make sure you get it filled in. Let's condense this down and see what I want to be sure that you take away from this on the next page. All right, there are two things that I want you to take away from this. So when we have our distribution, one of the values should be that there is no difference, okay? And then this would be 1 is better if you do 1 minus 2. This would be 2 is better. The 0 is where they're exactly the same. Okay, and you'll be looking at the statistics, X bar diff, and so that's the mean difference and this the difference of the standard deviation. Okay, so 0 is where there's no difference, and if you're saying you have to have a subtraction order, so that really matters. The first one minus the second one. Okay. Then we have our confidence interval for paired data. Your procedure name is the one sample T interval. So one sample T interval for mu diff. Okay. And your specific formula that you'll be using. Is X bar diff, so the mean of the differences, plus or minus the T star times the standard deviation of the differences divided by the square root of the sample size. Okay. All right, so you have this check your understanding. I want you to give try. When you're done, check the answer key. If you're not having the same detail of data written down, you might want to make sure that you adjust how you're doing this. So when you're looking at this, this is just like what we did. We have 10 teenagers here, and they had a time online and a time what their parents thought they spent online, and then they tell us this subtraction that they want the actual minus what the parents thought. Okay, so what you're not doing the actual subtraction, you are just wanting to find the mean and the standard deviation of that set of data right there. And then answer question A and B, and part C is a 4-step process. Check the answer key when you're done. Let me know if you have questions. See you in class.